We're going to look at the freetransform tool and the crop tool. They are very, very related tools. The freetransform allows you to change the size and warp the a single layer, where the crop tool does kind of similar things but on a document level. So we're going to look at freetransform at a layer level, and then we'll look at the crop tool at a document level. So you can get to freetransform and all of the transform options if you have a layer selected. So right now you can see there's freetransform and transform, but they're grayed out because I don't have a layer selected. So we're going to make sure that we have a layer selected. And then when you go in, you can click on freetransform. Notice that you'll see all of the quick key commands next to various tools like paste and copy. You know, Command C to copy, Command V to paste. Those are very common. Where if I come down here to freetransform, this is not something that's universal that you might see in any other program that you've ever worked with, but it's something that I would suggest all of you learn. It will save you some time. So Command T, but you can also get into a lot of these different specific things that we can do, like rotate, scale, skew, distort, perspective. You can do all of that in by selecting that individual. But I'm going to show you the quick key commands, so you'll be able to do this without going to that contextual menu. So I hit Command T. I selected that, but I do suggest that you learn how to do how to use or learn Command T, that keyboard command. You'll use it often. Notice I'm going to be doing this and just changing Moose's size, and I'm going to increase his opacity here so you can see that I'm going to turn out the background. So you can see now that he's much smaller than he was. I can, if I just pull from the corner or from the side, any which way, if I'm not holding down the modifier keys, it's constraining the proportions, so it's not distorting it. If for some reason I did want to distort the image, I could hold down the Shift key, and that lets me stretch and pull, but it's doing this still fairly uniformly, so it's squatting it down horizontally. Or vertically rather, and then if I change it horizontally, I can do it that way, but these 2 points, whether it's horizontal or vertical, those sides are connected. So I can also hold down the Command key, and that allows me to pull the corners separately, or the sides if I wanted to, and that kind of changes the perspective. You can also flip it over, so I can change it so he's on the other side, and that's holding the Command key down, and the Shift key is what changes just the vertical and horizontal width, but does not constrain proportions like if I just pulled without any modifier keys. If I hold the Option key down, you'll notice that it changes scale from the center rather than pulling it from a corner. So that can be really useful for a layout if you have something lined up and you want to increase the scale, but you don't want to stretch it from one side or the other. So I'm going to hit Enter, or I could double click anywhere in the center. So I'll show you that again. So once it's done, I can either hit the Return or Enter key, or I can double click in the center and it will complete the task. So now it's permanent. Now you can see if I turn this around, you can, I'll put him, now we've got 2 moose in there. We can have them peeking around the side. But let's go ahead and let's crop this tool. So we've got, we're going to crop this image. So I'm going to hit Command T. So notice that is just affecting the background copy. It's not letting me do anything to the background because remember the background is locked. But if I go into the crop tool, which is this little tool here, it's about the fifth, or it is the fifth down. You can also hit the C on your keyboard and it will pop up. Again, if I pull from the corner, and you can see some hidden pixels. So if I'm pulling from the corner, I can, it's going to show me that grid of 9, so, or the rule of thirds. So any place there is an intersection, that is a good place for a focal point, like an eye. If I go to the outside corner of the crop tool, I can actually rotate and then pull those corners in, because what I'm seeing is the outside of the pasteboard. So when I go beyond this and see that turquoise or white, then it is showing you that you're going to get some of the pasteboard in. When I come up here, I can lock the ratio to a specific ratio. So if I wanted a square, I could have it set as a square. If I wanted to have it set for a 4x5, which is a common print. If you're going to get something printed, this is a common print proportion or ratio. So it's either 4x5, 8x10, 16x20. These are very common frame sizes and therefore very common print sizes. So if you're going to go to print, you might want to consider that. Again, 5x7, another common frame size, and 4x6, another, or 2 to 3, that's another common frame size. So you can do that, or you could do just written, no presets, delete crop presets, or just do a specific ratio. You can clear that, and so you can freeform. So you can pull it whatever you want. If you clear it, delete it, cropped pixels, that means that if this is checked, it's going to actually remove the pixels behind. So I'm going to turn that off. So if I hit return here, and I see that I can see that I cropped the image, but if I go back to the crop tool, hit enter, the pixels are still there, and I can alter my crop. Oh, I really want to straighten this out. I want to have a little bit more. Maybe I want to make sure that it's 4x5 because I'm going to print this out for my kids, which I wouldn't. This is not done at all. And then I'm going to hit return. And again, when I go back to crop, I can see all those other pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and select the delete cropped pixels, and then I'm going to hit return. If I go back into the crop tool, I can see I no longer have the option to rearrange, that I would have to, those pixels are now gone. So I'm going to exit out of that by clicking on the Move tool. So that is freetransform and the crop tool. They're ones that you're going to be using quite often, so get to know them. I hope this helps.